In this 33rd Talking Acting, I want to deal with circumstances under which creating a prehistory for your character is very useful. Now, this might not be applicable to you, but I feel that many actors often take a written line literally. So that if your character has to say, I didn't say that, or I didn't think that, or I didn't do that, that actors will look at that line and go, well, that's the truth. I'm speaking an absolute truth. But the reality is that it could be the truth, or it could be a half-truth, or it could be a total lie. Just because you're saying it doesn't mean that that is the fact that it represents. An actor once said to me, when I challenged him about why had he been so positive in that moment in the scene because it didn't seem appropriate, he said to me, "Richard," he said, showing me the script, "I say a yes. I must be positive. I must agree." And I said to him, "Yes," meaning no. So my point to you is, if you can say yes and mean no, then you, the actor, must be in absolute charge of the meaning of what you say. And so if you are in charge of the meaning, when you come to those lines that I've just referred to, like, I didn't say that, you can be in charge of whether it's a truth, a half-truth, or a lie. And when you put yourself in charge of those things, what happens is that you generate a different level of complexity, a different connection between your mind and what you're saying and the character that you're talking to, which is going to bring those subtextual impulses to your performance. Whereas when you are simply just committed to, yes, this is the truth because I'm saying it, then the most likely outcome is a one-dimensional line that has very little complexity to it because all the complexity is in the dialogue. So let's look at an example as to how you can play with these circumstances, because we had a scene recently in the last couple of weeks in which one character said to a 16-year-old female something like, well, if you've never been kissed before, we have a different problem. And the 16-year-old responded with, I've been kissed before. Now, when she played the line in early runs of the scene, that it was just words, and it lacked that level of complexity and connection to life experience and to the relationship that was happening now that made it feel real. Now, it wasn't that it was a badly delivered line, it was just a fairly uninteresting one. And so I said to her, you need to make some decisions about whether you have been kissed before or not. And if you have been kissed before, was it a good experience, or was it a bad or awkward experience, or was it I can take it or leave it sort of kiss? And similarly, if you haven't been kissed before, you need to think about the circumstances that surrounded that, and whether you don't want to say that because you don't want to appear naive, or you don't want to say that because you don't want to look like you're a controlling or fearful person or whatever. You need to make those choices. And in doing that, I'm not asking her to delve into her own life. I'm not asking for any information about her life. That's not my business. And what's more, she doesn't need to delve into that to come up with an answer. She can decide unilaterally on which choice is right, because we all know what the experience is like of doing something that doesn't work or doing something that does work. We don't have to have been kissed, as it was on this occasion, to know what succeeding or failing feels like. So it's got nothing to do with the personal experience of the individual. It's got a lot to do with the choices that the actor makes. And then, having decided which of those circumstances she's going to use on the next run, she can also decide to use a different set of circumstances on the run after that. That's assuming that this incident in the character's life that we're referring to isn't specifically referred to somewhere else in the dialogue, and therefore changing the prehistory to whatever suited you isn't going to change the plot. Isn't going to change the story journey. And there will be lots of things that you say in a script that are not referred to again, that aren't particularly pinned down, but have a life of their own. And when you specifically look at that, you can specifically make choices that will affect the complexity and the nature of your response to the person that you're talking to. And when you've done that, you can use different versions on different takes or on different performances if you're in a play, to keep that moment fresh and spontaneous, where you're actually making a decision about what this moment means to you and therefore how you're going to respond now, so that you're going to be making that decision in the moment. And therefore, the chances of you being real and complex are significantly higher than if you're using a decision that you've made previously, which you're copying, and therefore there's a very high percentage chance that you will look like you're acting when you're copying something you've decided earlier and you've done before. So creating a specific prehistory for a specific event and coming up with options that enable you to play with that moment is really useful. It's a really useful acting technique. And what's more, it doesn't take a huge amount of time to come up with, though, because they're all common sense. So it should only take you, seconds to give yourself some options. And when you do, those options that will bring that natural complexity to your performance will be active, because you've got to make a choice about them. They will be externally focused, because they're about how they're going to affect that other character. They'll quite probably generate some difficulty between you and the other character, and they're definitely going to be separate from the text, because you've made them up and they're not dialogue based. And those 4 ingredients we know are key foundations for good and effective actor choices. So there are, you see, circumstances under which it's very practical, very functional, to build a prehistory, a specific prehistory for your character. And what's more, you should be able to pick those circumstances where you need to apply that technique on your second reading of the scene, because they will stand out as simple things with which you need to make a direct connection. So a specific prehistory can not only be very effective, very useful, but it also can be fun to implement in performance. I'll be talking acting. Same time next week. See you then. Cheers. If you have a question about this unique approach to acting process, you can email richard@rehearsalroom.com. Make a booking for a free 30-minute chat, or download the ebook. It's free too.